At least that's what you
319.
put on the thing.
Well, it is. Let's see, 3. It's right at the top. I should just look at that. Welcome to Vlog Thursday 319. Now that we know what number it is, because I put it at the top, it didn't notice at first, but then Steve pointed it out. So here we are.
Oh, it is there too.
Yeah, it is there too.
I was looking at the live stream that's not quite live yet.
The live stream that's not quite live.
I was looking at the mute that.
Yeah. In front of a live studio audience, but there is a delay. So it's like when you call in radio shows.
Yeah.
I have questions that people sent in last time. So one of the first things I want to do is start with the questions. And me and Steve will do our best to answer them. Eric, if he frees up doing the thing that he's doing, he'll join us too, because that's actually one of the questions asked if we can have more people on here from LTS. The first thing is not everybody wants to be on camera. And for those that are watching, including those at my office, if you'd like to be on camera, and I think I've said this out loud at the office before, I'm always willing to have them on camera. For the most part, not every person wants to be there. Matter of fact, Eric just wants to be on, but not on camera. So
his camera got knocked behind his desk by a cat, and he doesn't know where it is.
Yeah, basically that was what happened to Eric's camera. So
yeah.
The first thing is, before we get to the questions, I usually like to say where I'm going to be. And the only event that I am being peer pressured into that I'll go to is going to be MSP GeekCon. I haven't officially agreed to go any other ones, but I may go some of the IT Nation stuff in case any of you are going to some of those MSP events. You know, I'll be going to the hacking events when like GurCon, but that's so far out, it's not worth mentioning. But the first question is this first one, and this is a really hard one, so I don't want to spend too much time on it because I'm not the best person to ask. And actually, I would say neither is Steve and neither is anyone who currently is working for me. Probably. I find myself looking for a new job and having trouble figuring out what to put on my resume. I guess I could call myself a network engineer. Some of the examples I've seen networking protocols on them, it seems useless to me. Thanks for any insight. I don't know what to put on resumes because one, I haven't really had a job in 20 years, and most of the people I've hired. So because you're thinking, well, you're a hiring person, right, Tom? I haven't run out of friends to hire. So yeah. I mostly meet people who work in the industry, and that's how they end up working for me. So I don't necessarily start with their resume. And so that's it. Honestly, some of the better jobs, unless you're just applying for corporate jobs, don't start with a resume. Corporate jobs, yeah, there's a big convoluted process you have to go through, so resumes might matter. But there's actually a what's that guy's name now, Zach, who runs the IT career channel, I think is what it's called. But he's got all kinds of tips on this because he does training for helping people to get jobs. You have any thoughts on that? Or
yeah, I'd put like some of the stuff you did, like what networks did you manage, how big were they, what were some of the things you built out, like, because you're right. The protocols in that, half the people aren't going to know what they are, but yeah, managed a network for an office of 500 people. They're going to rationalize what that is.
Yeah. So that's the, that would be one of the rationalizations there. Actually, let me throw, someone asked 2 questions. This is what MSP GeekCon is. And then GurCon is this.
Wasn't GurCon like a few months ago?
Yeah, that one's further out. So, but people wondering is GRRCON. GurCon. It's a hacking event. I love that the website always looks super bad. Like it's like we're not updating this.
You know who we are.
We know who we are. You know why you're coming here. It's September. Yeah, September 28th. So it's later this year.
Oh yeah, that's I was gonna say it.
Wait, that's Executive Summit. Anyways, it's a thing.
Yeah.
This is the thing I mentioned though. This is in Orlando, the MSP GeekCon. You know, what you did in having a list of accomplishments, having a GitHub, if you do any type of coding, that stuff matters a lot on resumes, man. That is, Huntress actually did a write-up on what matters to them for hiring cybersecurity professionals. It's part of a blog post they did, but you can dig around on Huntress and find that too. It's some insight into how they look at hiring, and Huntress is a great place to work. Now, let's jump right to question number 2, because we've been updating, and I got to say, I haven't run into any of the problems that this person said with the new version of pfSense. Basically, they're saying that pfSense Plus in their home lab are having issues with pfBlocker NG. They're having issues with DNS resolver randomly stopping. Any ideas? I haven't run into this at all, but I do know that yesterday there was an update to pfBlocker NG, but I wasn't having problems before the update. I wasn't having problems after the update, but when there's a point release update without a list of new features, it's probably a bug release. I just didn't read the notes. Have you seen any of the upgrades you've done, Steve?
So not the upgrades, but 2 for 2, coincidentally, both of them were Comcast. We have had clients with DNS issues where it just does not want to resolve anything. I'm logging into mine now to double check the setting you got to turn on. I didn't have to turn it on, but it's under services, DNS resolver, and we've had to turn on DNS query forwarding.
Oh, okay.
And I'm not sure if it's related to the Comcast Security Edge, which does some kind of DNS filtering, because both the clients we had that had the issue were both very recent and both on Comcast. I guess I could have did that.
Yeah, well, I already know I have mine filtered, so my public IP is in here. But because I went, what's that?
I'll put services, DNS resolver.
Oh, okay. I was actually confirming my IP address was in here. Doing it live while everyone can see it. So.
Yeah.
just in case someone wanted to DDoS me or something. DNS.
Right there. Yep.
Down a little
more. Right there. DNS query forwarding.
Huh.
And I mean, we've had the DNS set up properly in the pfSense. We've had other DNS servers.
My guess is they were blocking something.
That's my guess. And it's entirely possible that as it passes through whatever, that's where it's causing a problem.
Are you coming to Ohio Linux Fest? Yeah, I went last year. I'll probably go again this year. It's not a far drive. So definitely it's worth going there. I think it was fun. I ended up, so hold on. I have a picture of this. The weirdest thing happened in Ohio. I don't know about the weirdest, but there's weird things that happen in Ohio sometimes. And it was this. This is Ohio Linux Fest. I get on the elevator, go up to my, back up to my suite. And you recognize those guys?
Yeah.
Wasn't even supposed. I said it when he's supposed to get in this elevator, and I started laughing and just. Not even supposed to be here today. Clerks, if any of you don't get the joke, they happen to be there at a convention, so that happened. So yeah, I'll go there again in hopes of that happening again for random people being there. But yeah, I don't know about that. The DNS thing is definitely strange.
Yeah, and like I said, both of them were recent, and that was literally you flip that switch, starts working.
Huh. Well, that's odd, but nonetheless, there's an update. And this question came in a few days ago before this update was released. I seen this question here. I watched your video on TrueNAS Scale. You say you want to do a video with the scale out features. What about toying with it live? I just don't really feel like it's not complete. It's marked as experimental, and seeing as they kind of mark TrueNAS as, I mean, it's really a kind of I have a beta feeling still about TrueNAS Scale to some extent with the applications and that. So when something's marked experimental, it's going to be, I don't know. I just don't feel like messing with it because the documentation is not good and it requires true command in order to work. So TrueNAS Scale. Let me find the page on it. If there's a page on it. Because the documentation's lacking on it. So they says uses clustering, but the way it works is completely based on setting it up with true command. There is nothing exposed in the system to do it. So you have to buy a license for TrueCommand, tie a few TrueNAS Scale servers to it. I think I forget. I think you can use TrueCommand free for some number of servers. I think I don't know for sure. I'm not sure where the licensing is on it, but it does have licensing and limitations to it. So it's kind of neat where they're going with it to be able to build that out using Erasure included clusters. But I don't know. It's kind of novel, but I don't. It's to me a feature that's a long time out before it becomes complete, and they may do even more rewrites of it. So it's kind of a waste to play a lot with it. So I don't know. We've talked about Ceph with the 45 drives people. I'm more likely to do a Ceph video than I am a Gluster because Ceph is more complete and in some ways better than Gluster. So that's my thoughts on that. Yeah, requiring TrueCommand even get it working makes sense. I just know usually enjoy toying with stuff for us live. Yeah, these don't age well the same. Yeah, it's just a matter of it takes time. I toy with something live that I know versus toying with something I don't know, and I have to sit down and learn. And I have too many other projects ahead of time that I want to get to because I have a whole security onion video I want to get done. Plus, and Steve helped with the investigation on this one. I have a security video I'm going to be doing about what Huntress found and what Sentinel-1 missed. Actually, they didn't miss it. They just don't believe it's a threat. So that's going to be an upcoming video as well. What about question number 3, Steve? Office chairs? You have any thoughts on office chairs? I have 0 thoughts on office chairs.
These are pretty cheap on Amazon.
But, oh yeah, drop a link.
It's yeah, I'll get a link in a second. We go through that and the GT racing ones. It comes down to whether or not you like the solid piece arms.
Oh,
I
yeah.
like having the solid arms on mine. Plus, it does this.
You can lean back in it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so there's nothing. We can throw an Amazon link for the chairs, but they're nothing special.
No, I got them because they're inexpensive, and as much time as I spent in mine, it held up pretty well.
Yeah, that's how do I feel about them? Like they're not. I go for an inexpensive chair, and I'm happy with it. So
that one.
I feel like the ISO got changed on my camera. He's fixed that. We're fixing it live. There we go. I'm feeling like I was a little dim. Let's see. Proxmox XCP and G Vert containers, TrueNAS storage, pfSense firewall, separate hardware. I don't think I'd install services on a TrueNAS Scale. Probably not. There was another question here because I am familiar with it. Hey, Lawrence, good afternoon. Have you heard of Mesh Central and what software do you recommend for IP camera use? IP cameras is Synology. That's my go-to for it. I know some people have commented in here and I've not used it, but it looks cool. I think it's called Frigate, Frigate. It's a, what is it called? Frigate. Is it Frigate.video? Yes, it is. This is like a self-hosted open source one called Frigate.video, but you can, I've just seen a lot of people recommend it every time I bring up an open source one that this one exists, but I've not used it. I don't know how good of a product it is. Our commercial go-to product is Synology and Mesh Central. For those of you who don't know, I don't know where it fits in security auditing. That's the big problem, but Mesh Central, I think this is the right website for it. It's basically like Screen Connect, which is our commercial tool we use, but I'm worried about companies that do have a constant watch on the commercial tool versus, hey, here's a free tool. I don't know how good the transport security is on this. So use at your own risk if you want to use one of these third-party. Rust Desk is another one that people are brought up to me. I just don't have time to look at them, and I certainly don't have time to security audit them. So until these get or have gone through some rigorous security testing, I'm always hesitant to look at any of these open source remote support tools. I mean, they're cool. I'm glad that they exist and I'm glad that people are working on them. But I actually, if for those of you that are longtime followers of the channel, you'll know I was hesitant for years to use Bitwarden until they had gone with their gotten through their security certification. So that was part of the process by which I vet a company that I have to depend on heavily for, things that could be a security problem. Let's see. I'm just a little dim. All right. Yeah. Steve's got the chair in there.
Yeah, that's done.
Cool. Last question was, let's see. Thank you for what you do. While other content creators focus on unboxing, you surpass your peers by going above and beyond how it functions over time. Yeah, that's something I'm definitely trying to do more of on this channel, is always bring you, how did it work over time? Because unboxing is boring to me and also not very helpful to tell me if the thing actually works out in the field.
Like, I want to see the unbox, but then I want to see it working.
Yeah,
because sometimes I have that question. Well, what all is in the box? Because you see the people who have it working, I'm like, then they start talking, well, I had to make this part or buy this part. I'm like, well, then did it work out of the box though?
Yeah.
I like the beginning to end. Like, here's the box. Here's us opening it. Here's everything in the box. Here's it working in the real world.
And the next question is something I alluded to earlier that Eric may jump on here, but they were asking about having more people on. And once again, that really comes down to not all of my staff wants to be on camera. Steve doesn't mind. Brett loves being on camera, but he's not as technical. He's more sales. Well, most of his videos, and he does post a lot, are over on Business Technicalities. Eric will join us audio and answer questions.
Yeah.
We're probably not on video because his cat knocked over his webcam and he's never going to look for it. The last part of that question was using Uptime Kuma to set up an instance so you know whether or not there's internet. You can actually, without a login page, you can create a public-facing Uptime Kuma dashboard. Let me pull that up. If I'm not mistaken, ours is set up that way. It's internal. I mean, we don't have it internet-facing, but you can create a dashboard in Uptime Kuma that will allow you to, and let me open this up. Hold on. Yeah. When you go and build the dashboards, the dashboard pages, you can actually set it up so it will, there's somewhere in here, switch dark tags. Like, you tell it not to log in when you create the dashboard. I built the dashboard. Now I forgot where the button is for it, but you get the idea. It is within the settings of Uptime Kuma. Read their documentation, and then you can have something so your family can have a public page that you can also, and because Uptime Kuma is mobile friendly, view to see if the internet is up, which is kind of an odd request. I guess it's to see. It's the question of, I guess, if they can't get to a site, are other sites up? And maybe you make a list of sites in there. I don't know. Oh, let's see. Thank you very much. Forget TrueNAS setup. I am using Mesh Sensor for my home and Cloudflare tunnels for our access feature. I mean, as long as you're not exposing it out to the internet and using it in a controlled environment, I imagine it's safer. But I wouldn't leave any of that publicly exposed because I don't know how secure it is. Have you looked at the PDU
I'm looking
Pro?
at it now. That's actually the first time I've heard of it.
Oh, it's not. It's pretty neat.
What is it?
It's a power switch thing.
Is that really it?
Yeah.
I didn't understand about the PDU Pro VRRP feature on the UDM Pro, but what does it have to do with the UDM Pro specifically? Or did just two questions get kind of merged there?
Probably got merged.
Because this I've seen, it's a power switch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What is that other company that makes? There's a couple companies that make some inexpensive power switches on Amazon that are IP enabled and controlled. There's a few of them out there, but I mean, cool if you want to cycle things remotely. I gotta admit though, this is not that often that we cycle things remotely. It's not zero, but it's not common either.
What do you mean?
Like how many times a week do we have to remote into Power Cycle something like that?
Almost like things that aren't a laptop, almost never.
Right.
Like when we did the firewall swap out at that client the other day where I was helping Travis, before I hit the update button, the uptime was upper 200 days.
Oh, I see. They're talking specifically. Cody says from NAC.com, virtual router redundancy doesn't work yet. Needs a firmware.
What I thought. Okay.
Okay.
Because somebody else brought it up, and the big question everybody had, well, how do you have the stuff in 2 controllers? So, my guess is, knowing UniFi, it's going to be hokey for a while,
and it may be a very long while.
Yeah, they're going to push it out, and then it's going to languish for a few years, and people are going to get upset. Then maybe they'll fix it.
Well, and I mean, look at the stupid problems we're still having with the UDM. We still haven't reached even close to 3.0 with the UDM, only the UDM SE. So you still don't get WireGuard.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just like a decision I don't understand, because like they could have not spent a lot of time designing a dumb VPN. They could have went like, I don't know, with industry standards for VPN. And then we wouldn't have these stupid problems. I don't know. Someone else messaged me today from the land down under. Apparently they had not heard that joke before and thought it was quite funny. Or they were humoring me. I'm not sure which. We'll go with humoring me. Oh.
Need to stop hitting shift.
What's that?
Nothing.
Oh.
I kept hitting shift when I shouldn't have, because I don't know how question marks and slashes work. Don't.
No, what Jeremy wants to join the comments.
Sure.
I've never asked Jeremy if he wants to be on. There we go. You can join us if you want. There, I've offered it to him now.
Yeah, I told him I was doing this.
Yeah.
I was talking to him for a minute before I jumped over here. I literally got back, ate five tacos, and got on here.
Taco time. Yeah, host SyncThing server on XCP-ng or Synology NAS VM and Joplin server on XCP-ng or Synology Docker. I've only played with the Joplin server as a Docker instance. It seems to work, but I play with it, and unless you're going to share notes with other people, I don't really have a need for it. And until I can get Steve and other people using Joplin for notes, then, I don't know how much it matters right now. So Joplin's a note-taking app. It's really slick. I like it a lot for keeping all my notes. It does everything in Markdown language. So you can have a nice organized, indexed, and tagged to-do lists and notes. And you can actually convert notes to to-do lists and to-do lists to notes. You can convert them back and forth, like to keep yourself organized. It's a nice note-taking system. Is it like
private Google Keep?
It's like a private Google Keep. Yeah, I might do a video on it because it's just such a neat piece of software, and it 100% cross-platform, including apps for your phone. Now, app for your phone is where the Joplin server will be really handy because it synchronizes all your notes. But I ran into a bug on the phone version because I have some big notes I put in there, and I'm kind of annoyed by this. Whenever you edit the note, it always edits at the bottom when you're on the phone app, and I think that's kind of annoying. So I was like, But if you're not doing that, you can just do file sync with it if you're not using a Joplin server, and the file sync works well. But if you're using a Joplin server, because it encrypts all the notes, the Joplin server can actually be publicly hosted. All the notes are encrypted, but if two people using the same Joplin server want to share a particular note, they can share a note and collaboratively edit those notes with each other. So it's just got some really neat features. Should probably turn my phone off. It's making a lot of noise. Because I got to add it somewhere.
Yeah, I don't have friends, so.
Oh, that's a good way to have
that one.
Do you have a minute? Try to reach over call, however unfortunate. What is this person? Tried to reach over call, however unfortunate. I don't know what any of that means. It's like the most spammy I want to talk to you thing that's from LinkedIn I've seen in a while. And I get a lot of those.
I use Joplin to sync notes between PC and phone. See, I'm different. I just do it in Google Docs.
Yeah, and we use Google Docs at work. So
yeah,
the only Google Docs is still kind of our go-to. It's just the easiest way to do all of it. I just have some things like when I'm moving around encrypted stuff, and sometimes I'll drop some keys or passwords in Joplin temporarily when I'm setting things up. I like the fact that it's always encrypted, so that makes it comfortable to me. But also I may need to get that over to my laptop, like something over my desktop to my laptop, and I'm using SyncThing, and it's only syncing the encrypted part of it. So I'm never at worry of any of this data getting exposed. Also, my hard drive on my computer, my hard drive on my desktop and my laptop, both are encrypted. So it's encrypted and then encrypted again. And then the transport layer is privately encrypted. So I feel comfortable doing it. And the big thing about the Notes app is the fact that it's always saving for me. So like I put something in there, I never have to think about it. So it's like an app I just have up, and I just like, hey, I'll just start dumping data here. It'll save every 5 seconds automatically. That way, if something happens or I just walk away from the computer and shut it down without thinking, it's always saved. And I looked, I seen someone mention Obsidian. I looked at Obsidian. I don't get why people like it so much. It's not open source, and I liked Joplin better. So, but if you like Obsidian, go ahead and use it. It's whatever. Honestly, it's whatever works for you. I just don't see a reason to use it. Joplin felt like it had more features to me. On TrueNAS, have you seen this here? Waiting for pods to be scaled or replicas stuck on this one for charts. Usually that's permissions, but this is the thing. There's a lot of app problems with Scale, and that's why I haven't covered the apps, because they keep updating things, but their current status of things sucks for how they do things. So if you are someone who wanted to use Plex or something like that, and you wanted to share media in there, you have to check this little stupid box. And I covered this in a video specifically because I'm kind of aggravated about having to check that box. I mean, it's fine. It works. I have that video of how to set the host path, and it's called host path safety checks. But I mean, they tell you, if you check this, it's unsupported. Well, if it's unsupported, how is it supposed to work? Like, the only way to get data in there is unsupported by the people. So I give up. Like, they're telling you not to post the errors, or you may not. I don't know. That aggravates me from the aspect of using it, because you're like confirming this is not supported, but it's the only way we know how to make this thing work. Like, I don't know. So I got nothing on it. Post in their forums. There's lots of people with that problem, stuck on replicas, and that's how that works. Could you self-host Joplin on a Raspberry Pi? I feel confident at Raspberry Pi. It is a very lightweight application. I don't think a Raspberry Pi would be a problem. The link and backlink thing in Obsidian was heavily pushed to create mind maps to sort your thoughts. I have never used or understood mind maps. They confuse me. What about you, Steve? Mind map help at all?
What's mind map?
That's what I thought. I don't know. I've never been given a mind map. So I looked at it and I said, I don't get. Let's pull it up real quick. So I'll show you what they show.
I'm about to Google mind map, because it's probably something I've seen, pondered, and then moved on and just never paid any attention to the name.
It's this. Like, you draw these little dots and circles to connect all the dots of where you're going with things.
Oh, like a conspiracy theory.
Yeah. What's that meme? Well, is that from Always Sunny?
Yeah, Pepe
Yeah.
Sylvia.
Yeah. So like it's that. Like that's a mind map, but that's the physical one.
Yeah. Okay.
Where they
I
get
didn't know that's what it was called.
yeah.
No, I'm good. I don't
It's weird because things get caught on by I don't know how to describe the people. Those people that are always trying to sell you something on YouTube, buy my book and work 3 days a week and make $10 billion every
the
30
people
minutes
we
while
had
working
before
from
Crypto
home.
Bros.
What's that?
Those are like people we had before Crypto Bros.
Yeah, what are the people we had before Crypto Bros that always tell you could always work 1 hour a week and make $1 million, just buy my book and whatever. Those it
Self-help
always seems like
gurus.
there's a bunch of people that this is how I organize my life and this is how I make all my passive income and blah blah blah. And it's like I use this mind map to chart it all out. I don't know, mate. I don't always understand what those people are talking about.
I think it works for some people, but it's
yeah,
not my cup of tea.
that's how I feel too. They're not really my thing.
Like I see it, and like you said, I immediately go to the Pepe Sylvia meme.
Ty Lopez, that was one of the people I remember everyone made fun of for doing that. Wasn't he the guy that read a book every day, allegedly? And he's like, I have all these books. I read a whole book every single day.
I could read a book every day. The Cat in the Hat, Horton Hears a Who. I don't. You got to like specify the length of the book, man. It's not impressive if you don't.
Yeah, well, they were allegedly some business books or whatever. I don't know. I don't know. It just, yeah.
I read a book once. It was okay.
I don't really know much about the Joplin server in terms of like it doesn't take up much space. It's not particularly big. It runs, I think, Postgres on the back end.
Well, I imagine too, if you're just storing notes,
If you're installing notes, it just generally speaking is going to be really, really small.
Yeah.
Do I have one on here? Let's load one and see how much data Joplin uses. We can do it live. We can do this live.
Ooh.
Tom knows how this works. Install. Because we'll at least figure out how big the Docker image is when it downloads. I should probably share the install screen. There, I'm actually doing a thing. Considering you can run an entire Nextcloud server in a Pi, Joplin server and sync thing is probably easy peasy. Yeah, we'll go with that. Joplin server or YouTube. Oh, is there too many?
Too many letters?
I did too many letters or something.
No, you gotta, I think you have a space in front. Name must start with an alphabetic character.
Where did I goof up here? Where did I go wrong?
Do you have a space in the...
Oh, no. It doesn't like capitalizing. Or you can't have no capitals
allowed in the middle. Is there a finite number of hyphens?
No, there's no capitals. See?
Oh.
Yeah. I gotta read. Name must start
weird.
End of America. Hyphen is allowed in the middle, but it also there's no capitals.
Well, they didn't tell you that. But also, why can't it just fix that?
I don't know. We should have ways, but we don't. Wait, what am I? I'm apparently need to check something else. Oh, this is a dumb problem. I don't know why it does this, but I know how to fix it. Whoops. That's not how to fix it. So you have to put something here, even if it's wrong, because I don't know what port it runs on. But if I put this and hit save, it'll build it and I can fix it after to the port. If I knew the port, I could just put it there, but it doesn't just fill in what port it runs on. Welcome to dealing with TrueNAS Scale and why Tom made a video called TrueNAS Scale versus Synology, because people who don't want to deal with things like, I don't know, you kind of guess your way through this and the documentation isn't great. Yeah, buy a Synology if you want something just to work right off the rip. Synology's a set it and forget it type thing.
It really is.
But the drive thing, people lose their mind over it. The fact that you have to use in some of their higher end systems, the Synology drives. Look, it's just the cost of the device.
Kind of that. Like, I get it. It's kind of the same thing with UniFi video going away because people were loading it on old Core 2 Duos they found in the garbage, then complaining the product was bad.
Well, and it's the same problem with, do you remember the hard drive swap shenanigans when all these companies were sending the review units out of hard drives, but then because of the chip shortage, they were putting different components on the NVMe's. I mean, there's some big performance profile differences. And of course, then we get into the whole SMR
or CMR. Yeah.
Yeah. And it was causing all these problems with NASA. So I get why companies like have to start making lists of the way it should be done. But yeah, fun stuff. Steve, a new member of the weekly stream. Why not? Yeah, he's here.
I'm working on, because that was actually part of the question number 4 that Tom left out. My stream's not as crisp, supposedly. I'm working on the lighting and all that. It's better than it was a couple of weeks ago, I'll tell you that. Like if you saw the that Saturday stream we did,
Saturday stream was bad.
It was rough.
I updated XCPNG on my Asus PN51 AMD. You have SyncThing on TrueNAS, but why not at XCPNG? Where do you host Joplin server? Well, I'm not hosting a Joplin server. I've set one up to play with it, but I've played with it in Portainer and Docker because I have a dedicated Docker server for things. But SyncThing, why would I run an XCPNG? Why? I don't have a reason to. It works perfect. That XCPNG is good for hosting a lot of things, but if it works good on TrueNAS for my storages, that's the one thing TrueNAS got right was SyncThing works properly. I'm so happy they didn't goof that up because that was a pain if they did. But this works flawlessly on TrueNAS, so that's why I run it here. Also, this. See, I had to click off of it. Now it's going to break. If I open this, it's going to give an error because it's not on the right port. It'll say invalid origin. And then we're going to go back in here and edit this because now I know the port number and I can put it in here. It's 22300. Save. It'll fix and rebuild. Now you know how goofy it is to set up. Now, by the way, if you watched it and you know the port's 22300, you can skip that step where I built it without the right port number because reasons. I would love to join, but who cares what the Microsoft guy thinks? Yeah, Jeremy's our Microsoft guy. He solves we dodged one for you today. Someone wanted us to support a really old SQL IIS app and do a migration from a really old version of SQL on there. And we're like, no, that sounds bad. Because they need someone to support and maintain it. And I'm like, no. Maintaining and supporting Microsoft SQL apps that use IIS, low on the list of things I want to do. You have a nice new version of SyncThing on Scale compared to mine on Core. I'm sticking with my rock solid TrueNAS Core stability. Yeah. Somewhere, I think I did a video on how to build SyncThing in Core as an app so you can have the latest version. I can't remember. I'm certainly not making a new one because, yeah, it's not something likely to happen. I don't care much about the core apps. Are people and companies upgrading to Windows 11, Steve? Maybe.
They're not upgrading because they're upgrading. They're upgrading because it's the same thing that happened on Windows 10. They just wake up to Windows 11 sometimes.
Yeah.
In all, though, as far as Windows 11 goes, I hate the menus, but it seems all right.
I hate the menu. It seems all right. That's as close as a review we're going to give on it.
Yeah. It's having a handful of clients and consulting calls where they're using it now. It's not bad, but it's not trash enough that like the early days of Windows 10, when you're like, no, we're going back to 7. It's not nearly that bad. So,
and probably should sort these by date created. When was the date created on these? There's a lot of Docker things in here. Items per page, 100. Well, this didn't go well at all. It seems to have locked up my screen. I still don't know how big it is. Whoops. Somewhere in here in this image setting that locked up. Now, there we go. That unfroze. So if we go by date created and sort it this way, that's 222, 215. One of these somewhere in here is the Docker image for it. Rancher, Sync thing, maybe not. Collabora, Net Data. No, none of these are very big. Like if we sorted through image size of any of these. So it's definitely less than a gig because there's nothing in here bigger than, or 1.4 gig is the biggest thing in here, and that's Home Assistant. So it's at the most 1.4 gig, whichever one of these images is one of the Docker images for this. So that answers our Joplin questions. I think. Our auditors will require us to upgrade at some point. Probably.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, at some point, is it 2025 or 24 when Windows 10? It's kind of a rolling number because I know it depends on which subversion, but there is an end date to Windows 10 where Microsoft just won't do anything with it anymore. So,
and it's always hard to say because one, that date's a ways out, but look at Server 2012. With COVID, it got extended a year because they realized we're a year behind.
Yep.
We're not going to get everyone off it in time.
Right. Yeah, 2025.
Mm-hmm.
The someone was talking about this, and I've covered this maybe once or twice before. I could do a new video on it, but I know someone did a video because it was in one of the Reddit posts about just how much telemetry is in Windows 11. Like, this is a good joke here. They turned it up to 11. I would definitely do that joke in that. We'll do a Wireshark video on just how much telemetry is in Windows 11, and it's definitely more than Windows 10. At least that's what that title implied. I didn't actually read the article because I don't use, it's a whatever thing. The clients are going to use what the clients are going to use because that's what it is. As an IT service provider, we support Windows. People always ask, why don't you tell your clients to use Linux? Because their apps don't work on Linux, and I ain't got time for that. So, 2 years left business on anything pre-8th gen. Oh, yeah, that's right, because they have arbitrary rules that you can actually bypass on what it requires. Because I like that my system says, womp womp, you don't support Windows 11. Oh, darn. Oh, no, what shall I do?
That's the frustrating part of it all. Like, you could run Windows 7 on a potato, and it'd be like, hey, okay, whatever.
Yep. A little closed-minded, I think we would force our client to use Linux. Yeah, it's just not
that.
It's not rational.
Not to mention the learning curve of it. Like, you have a lot of these people that they have a Windows PC. Their apps run on a Windows PC. That's what they're going to use. We actually had that one client years ago that wanted to go full Linux, with the exception of their accounting department, because the banks required that they use IE. But everything else they did was cloud-based. So they're like, yeah, we don't care.
What do you think of this? Because you've already had a 10 gig USB adapter. Is USB fast enough for that?
Yes.
Okay.
USB 3 is 5 gig. 3.1 is 10 gig. So it has to be at least a US. And I think almost all 3.1s are USB-C. And cross-check the standard because it's so complex. They have like 3 different naming schemes for it. But USB 3.2 is like 20 gig.
Okay.
So, yeah, it can be fast enough to do that. Then again, look, we had that client who had a gigabit network adapter that was USB 2.0.
Yeah.
Sometimes they just make things and they don't actually design them right.
Right. Also, one thing I'll say for sure, support's going to suck for them because there's a discussion it's funny. We brought this up last week. Me and Steve did, because someone had emailed us about Vlog Thursday, and we talked about it was a thank you notice for a consulting job I did where we solved a lot of server problems by telling them not to use Broadcom, and it solved all their Kubernetes problems. It solved all the weird problems they're having, blah, blah, blah. and then another forum post this morning about me telling someone not to use Broadcom. This is probably why they're having so many problems. So even network cards that are built in, and specifically they were using the built-in Dell Broadcom, which I know because we had one, is problematic. We can never get 10 gig out of it properly. It gets 10 gig, but it just falls flat as soon as you actually put load on it. Like you could do an iPerf test, but there's a bunch of retries. But once you actually put it under load, it just dramatically tanked the performance over it. And that's what you're going to get with most of the ones I've seen when it comes to the USB network adapters. They're not going to be good. They're probably not going to have good driver support. They're probably going to have a lot of packet dropping and problematic issues. So I wouldn't do it, not in production. For a fun experiment for funsies, sure. You tried some pfSense ones that you had some problems with too. Wasn't it the 2.5 gig one that was locking up on you?
Me?
Yeah, remember what you can get it to link at 2.5 gig?
No, I'm actually pretty sure it worked.
You had one of them you were doing just one. It was only the 2.5 gig you had a problem with. It worked at 1 gig, but not 2.5.
I don't remember. No, you know what?
You couldn't get it working on the little UniFi switch when we were building in a lab.
Then that was specifically, and it wasn't just that, it was any other port I used on that UniFi switch too. When I went to a different switch, it worked fine. Okay. So it had to be some incompatibility between that switch and those adapters. I know what you're talking about now. Yeah. When I went to a different switch, it worked fine.
Yep. USB isn't stable enough for networking. And it's that kind of quirky stuff. You know, it's an aggravation I've had when it forums when someone starts out with, I'm having all these problems with pfSense, blah, blah, blah. It's a garbage software, blah, blah, blah. You start really drilling in what hardware you're using. They've dangled a bunch of USB adapters off an old broken laptop. And I'm like,
which I've done for funsies.
Yeah. I
did it when I did the, we had a group of broadcasting stations that wanted a bunch of firewalls set up for all their different locations. And I needed an extra port to create a management interface on my root pfSense that would act as the WAN router. So I just plugged a USB in, and that was my management port to log in and make changes to simulate the WAN connections.
Yeah, that's a video I have to do because that is one of those weird things to me that people really get confused about is how we handle that.
I do it all. I'd love to do a video on that. I do it all the time.
Yeah, it's so easy.
It really is. You put WAN addresses on a firewall in your building.
Yeah. And
I think it's that hang up on routing and default gateways that get them and natting. And I think that's what throws people.
Oh, by the way, I did a thing at the office. I don't think I told you I did this. I'll show it to you though.
I don't go there. I don't care.
No, we have the WAN DHCP. I built a CG NAT, so we have our own CG NAT inside the office now.
Why?
Because I needed it. So I wanted a different IP range for all the WAN for all the different pfSense videos I'm going to be making. So, okay. But anyways, what me and Steve are talking about is you can go to these interfaces. I know they're called LAN interfaces, but it could be, I don't know, on 1.0/24. We could take over Cloudflare's addresses inside the office if we wanted to. You can actually program 2 different segments of the network to be public IPs. Then you can build your client's network, including their public IPs, and build it between there. It works beautifully. And someone may point out you can do this with BGP as well. Yes, you can. This way's faster and doesn't require you loading FRR and the extra packages to set up BGP. I know it can be done, but this way's fun and it works.
Yeah, and all you do is you leave your WAN interface on that one, and you're basically double natted and simulating a public WAN, so I can even update the firewalls and everything as needed.
Yeah. And the only problem with doing it, and I recommend having an extra, don't do this on like your main firewall, this is why we always use an intermediary one, is because in the meantime, when you set a firewall to this, you are unable to get to that client's IP address.
Yeah.
So that's something worth noting. Like if someone in the office was if you did this on your main firewall and someone else in the office had to remote into that client, they would have a hard time because it would think it's local. pfSense will override that. So let's see. Most of the USB 2.5 gig 10 gig adapters are for MacBooks just dumping data from a NAS. Yeah, they're not for that. Tailscale fixes everything network stuff.
I guess.
I don't know what fixes it, but Tailscale works. It's a solution. It's a nice one. I don't know if it fixes all your problems. Maybe it fixes your problems. It doesn't fix all of our problems. Tailscale didn't put the network engineers out of business. It's good, but it's not that good. Are you going to revisit the UDMP when 3.0 comes out in 1 to 2 months? Oh, that's cute. He thinks UDM Pro's coming out in 1 to 2 months. I don't feel that it's coming out in 1 to 2 months because it was coming soon, like 2 months ago when I complained about it, and it's still not left EA yet. I'm just talking about the two. I think is it 2.5? There's an intermediary step before you can get to 3, and it still hasn't come out of EA. It's not a priority for them. It's like their answer is, oh, you want those cool features we keep bragging about? You got to buy one of them UDM SEs. Oh, you only bought that UDM Pro a year ago, and by the way, we still sell it. Yeah, that's okay. We're still selling a product that doesn't support our latest features because. Let's see. Yeah, it's a 2.4 is in general. Is it generally available now? See, they have to do these intermediary steps to get the UniFi up to speed on it. So, what do you guys do for log aggregation, and does it have alerting? Trying to find something more reasonable for that at work. Graylog. Graylog for all of our stuff. Where log aggregation, sometimes we'll use, I think we have a couple clients using Graylog internally. Graylog is probably one of the best ones out there for it. A lot of the stuff that whenever possible, we tie everything to our RMM. So everything comes into one dashboard. We don't tie Graylog to our RMM. We actually will directly have our RMM querying things to keep everything in one place. We're using Ninja One for the RMM. NetBoot XYZ. I've never tried it. Graylog is open source, but they do have paid support, so you can buy a license for it. So it's free if you use the open source version, but if you want to buy support, you can. I got to do a new video on it. They have a new version, but the new version loads different than the old version. So my video on it for how to get started is wrong, and that is something that it says, hey, here's how you get started with Graylog 4. And everyone's like, hey, this doesn't work for Graylog 5. I'm like, yeah, because it's a Graylog 4 video. I'm like, but there are instructions on their site how to set up Graylog 5. They claim 2.5 to 3 should be much quicker than 1.2 to 2.4. I mean, they claim
a lot of things.
Yeah.
They claim you need one of their devices too, but I mean,
yeah,
we see so many people buy them out of confusion because of the marketing on the site. Eric and I see it all the time. I got a UDM because they said I needed it to run the controller. No, you can spin it up on a computer to get a cloud key. Oh, yeah.
Have you read that much of TrueCharts will have to be reinstalled? I seen they had an announcement for it. I only use TrueCharts. Well, I take that back. I actually found one thing I liked that they had, fresh RSS, but I don't really use it much. It's all feels like it's in flux to me, like they're updating it. Matter of fact, I'm going to pull up the TrueCharts site because I actually like this here. What they said. Hey, let's go violate a YouTube policy, Steve. We'll read this together.
What are we doing?
This is how to install TrueCharts. Important must read on TrueCharts here. Did they change it? So yeah, more specifically, anything related to TrueTool is considered a stopgap measure to cover for inherent lacking of features on TrueNAS Scale. Because one of the problems with TrueCharts is they're telling you to use a storage function that's not natively built in. They're using PVC storage, but either way, I like the wording they used here. This is the part where I said, let's violate some rules here on YouTube. We understand some things are shit, but we do not have the manpower to go into endless support feedback loops about those features. And they're referring to Scale. And all guides in our section are made for TrueNAS Scale. We do not control anything made by access IX systems, no matter how great or shitty it is, because the developers are kind of at odds. I feel, I don't know, in some ways, like I think it's just they just have differences of opinion of how things should be done, and I kind of feel that they're right because, like I pointed out earlier with TrueNAS Scale, I'm checking a box that says I can't get support. And I don't have any other way to put data in my Plex if I ran Plex on there. How do I get data in my Plex? Well, you check this box that you guarantee that support tickets can't be opened by doing this host path. Well, how do I do it without it so I can do it? What's the supported way of doing it? We're not saying because it's not documented. So, yeah. Because one thing they did do, TrueCharts has the option, and I don't know why you can't do this with at least none of the apps I've seen so far with TrueNAS Scale. The official apps don't have support for NFS mounts, but the TrueCharts one does have adding NFS in there. So I don't know. I'm confused by it, and it doesn't make as I don't know where they're going with it. So have I read it? I'm seeing there's an announcement, but I'm not. This is part of why it's so difficult when I recommend Scale, or when someone says, hey, what about TrueNAS Scale or Synology? If you want something that just turnkey and works, but it's going to be something you pay for, it's proprietary. You may get locked into drives at some of their higher end models, but Synology is pretty turnkey for that. So yeah, they recommend the NFS shares for data, which is great. I'm glad they have that as an option. I don't know why. I mean, but of course, it's people argue me and TrueNAS like the bridging problem with the VM, because if you load a VM in TrueNAS, you can't get to the NAS because they think you shouldn't be able to for security reasons. And I'm like, what? It's a NAS with a hypervisor attached to it. You would think I would be able to get to. As a matter of fact, I didn't check this. Let me pull up my TrueNAS Scale system and let's try something here. I'm pretty sure this isn't fixed. Actually, I got to see what is the network interface it's on. Devices, network. What NIC do I have it attached to? EN0. All right. And where's my network settings? I'm bad at remembering what I have interfaces set to. Well, I still don't know. Okay. ENP2SF4. So let's go ahead, virtualization, and stop this. Switch to network interface, and I'll see if I can ping it. I doubt it'll work. I doubt they fix that because they don't think it's not a bug. It's a feature. We're helping you. Well, that's fun. It just decided to stop right here. Just don't run anything other than NAS or SAN. Their storage, not hyperconverged infrastructure, pretty much.
Yeah, I always feel like it's always the home lab people that want to run everything on the TrueNAS.
I get it, man. Electricity's got expensive in England, so they have some real issues. What lab networks VLANs do you guys have now? All of them?
So many because we just keep making them.
Yeah, that's the best part is you just keep making more because you can.
That
it doesn't cost money to have VLANs. They're cheap. The cost is here. Here's all the ones we currently have. Let's see, we got CGNAT 3333. That's my new one. IoT Insecure, Lab 101, Lab 102, Lab 103, Lab 104, Lab 105. Office computers, Port Tap, Pwn.
I thought that said Pop-Tart.
Pop-Tart. I'm
dyslexic.
I'm going to rename it. It's going to be Pop-Tart going forward. That's a Port Tap for the security again.
Yeah. No, I know what it is. I just can't read.
Yeah. Pwnage, Steve's Lab, Storage, Studio 100, Studio 200, which I can probably get rid of. Well, I don't know if I need to get rid of them. I'm just going to rename them to be Lab 106 and Lab 107 or something. Tunnel Bear, VLAN 10 Lab, VLAN 69, WAN Lab, and WAN Lab 2. The WAN Lab is where we do the simulated WAN for setting up VPNs and everything for clients. So those are all the ones we have now. Hopefully that makes you happy. So this is the same person. I think you're the same person who was asking all the VLAN questions last week too. Do you remember, Steve?
Yes.
All right. Syncing and MNIO are all run on my TrueNAS. Tried jails for years, but switched back to a dedicated Linux Docker hosted. Yeah, if you do them all Linux Docker hosted, you just have a better and less trouble experience, but you have to have enough systems to be able to do that. And if you're in England and paying really high electricity bills, that may not be the most reasonable way to do it. The pinging of the host didn't work in KVM on Ubuntu either. Huh. Hello, Tom. Interested in the features of Proxmox, and I'm putting together a server. I plan to run a few virtual environments with Linux and Windows. What approach do you recommend? I don't understand the question. What approach do I recommend? Build it and have fun. I need a more specific question on the approach part of it. Unless you have any thoughts to add to that.
No.
Okay.
Now you build it and you load Proxmox. I think that's the approach.
Yeah. Load Proxmox. Enjoy. I don't use Proxmox. Jay from Learn Linux TV. That's probably the approach. He's got a whole tutorial on Proxmox. I do not use it, so I do not have any tutorials on it. So WAN Lab is a DMZ? No, they're all just VLANs. They have no designation such as DMZ. I don't like
that designation. To me, the DMZ is, the closest actually. Yeah,
old reference.
It is. Yeah, the closest thing. When I think about DMZing something, the way Comcast does static addresses now, you program it on the firewall, but you don't put the modem/router in bridge mode. To me, the DMZ would be plug it directly into the Comcast and it's outside your firewall and not your problem.
Yeah. 30 watt less power when PF Blocker loaded up compared to Dell, although I think I need to revisit due to config mistake. 30 watt difference? Huh. I think one of the problem is people do a PF blocker is they go, look, I can block things. And then they check all the things. And then they go, hey, my firewall can't handle the fact that I checked 50 block lists and loaded every block list up. And now I've run out of memory on my server and it doesn't run right. I don't know if that's what the issue is, but you don't need to block that much. I've got a tutorial on it. I talk about how little you need to block and how many things are redundant in there.
I wish I could click things.
Someone else asked about DAC cables for close range, fiber for long range. That's the
in
answer.
Response to the 1-2 above it. Yep.
There we go.
If you're just talking like your lab rack, copper's fine.
Here, you explain that. I need more water.
Okay. Yeah, if you're talking just within your rack, copper and DAC cables are wonderful. If you're talking 10 gig over long range, that's debatable. Are you going to run fiber through your house? Are you going to then get boards that have SFP support, or are you going to get boards with 2.5 gig Ethernet or 10 gig Ethernet adapters? So that comes down to a preference thing, and something to remember is when you do SFP to RJ45 modules, they don't go that far. There is a 30-meter limit for 10 gig, 60 meters, I think, if you get some of the special FS ones, but they run super hot. So I don't know how long they would last.
Oh, the little SFP adapters?
Yeah. I was explaining using those, because do you run fiber in your whole house? And then what? You got SFP modules in all your computers? 10 gig Ethernet adapters are becoming slightly more common.
They're really cheap. I mean, even the RJ45 ones now are $100 on Amazon. So,
and more boards are coming with 2.5 gig and 10 gig adapters by default.
Yeah.
Oh, exactly, coming with SFP modules.
Oh, and I guess this is a new bug. It just kind of
broke it.
I broke it. We're still here. We'll reload the page. Well, that got me far. Oh, it stopped. So now you can edit the network interface. Oops, wrong one. You edit the VMs kind of strange in this, but there we go. Save. But someone said it didn't work, so I'm wasting my time here on something that's not going to work. Because they could solve this with a checkbox, but they say it's a feature, not a bug. Lawrence said, does XE have DRS? What's DRS? Not sure what DRS means. Hey, Tim, you mentioned recently about having a Chromecast in an IoT subnet. Is it still about being cast on a phone or a different subnet? Can you explain that? Phones are IoT devices. Is that correct, Steve? If you want your Chromecast to work and your phone to work, put them on the same network. Quit monkeying with them and pretending your phone is some sacred device that's not an IoT device. Just, when I want to Chromecast things from my phone, I put the phone and the Chromecast on the same network. I'm not worried about Chromecast attacking my phone. Google owns the Chromecast. Google essentially owns my phone. I trust Google for software updates. I trust them on the Chromecast, so they may as well be the same. I still don't know what DRS means. Drag reduction system. We'll go with that.
Okay.
Extreme power. We do like our extreme power UPSs.
Yeah, we got 2 of them at the office, and Brett has one at home.
Oh, okay. I didn't know. Brett took one. The little. That's right. He did. He took the little one home.
He took that little one.
Distributed resource scheduler. Oh, well, why didn't someone ask? Why is it worded this way? Load balancing is the word we're looking for. Distributed resource scheduler.
Load balancer.
Yeah, load balancer. Yes, you can do load balancing, and let me show you. Load balancer. So yes, there is a load balancer option in XCP-ng. So yes, it does have that ability. In VMware, the DRS is possible to shuffle live VMs between hosts, and in VMware you can do that, and you can do that in XCP-ng. It does it here. Yeah, you can do. Matter of fact, this was a fun discussion because people may have noticed VMware's in the news a little bit for being hacked a bit. And one of the things they did to make that easier was there's a recent patches. I didn't load them. I'm going to load them this weekend because I got to reboot the servers. I can migrate this, but one of the things you can do is do rolling pool updates. And what they've done at XCP-ng is just make it easier and easier to update, because this is the problem with VMware. Is the reason people don't update it is because they didn't make it easy to update. Now, it still is going to require a server reboot, so it's going to be a little bit more time. So I like to just do it over the weekend, because I don't feel like migrating the servers from one to the other, because some of them are using local storage. But yeah. Host that isolate. Yeah, I mean, you can do the same thing. The high availability features of Zen lets you do that. So let's go ahead and I got a Ubuntu. So I have one of my servers like this one. Where does it live? It lives here. So let's take this server and we can live migrate it. Now you can have the load balancer do this, but if you're wondering how the live migration works, this is my Docker Portainer server. It's currently running on Ryzen 2, as you see right up at top here. If we wanted to migrate it over to Ryzen 1, migrate VM, I mean, all the live migration features and everything are right here in XCP-ng. And by the way, from the time I click that, I can go here if I want and click the task 919 2, 1. All right. Then we'll go back. We've migrated to another server. And would that take, Steve? 11 seconds, maybe 10 seconds?
I don't even think that.
Yeah. You can
play this back later and count it.
Yeah, we can play it back later and count it. So we have to pull up a stopwatch thing to do it. So yeah. VMware likes money. And by the way, I'm doing this with the fully open source version. I always like to do my demos to let people know the open source stuff does all this. If you want to buy licenses for support, you can. But the open source version of this, and that's why if you go here, it says no support. I'm using the open source version in all my videos to let you know you can use this too. This version is free. The open source version will do all these fancy things like migrate your Portainer VM somewhere else with just a few clicks. Or if I wanted to move like my Bitwarden server, it's currently running on Ryzen 2. I can just go here and say, you can run on Ryzen 1 if I wanted, and it'll just move it over there for me. It doesn't have to disrupt anyone. Kind of surprised you use Ubuntu Red Hat based XCPNG instead of CentOS. You use Ubuntu on the Red Hat based XCPNG instead of a Debian based Proxmox. XCPNG scales better than Proxmox, is my understanding from all the people we've removed off of Proxmox who had trouble with their large scale server deployments. So that is my understanding. I'm not a Proxmox expert. I know they've made improvements, but we have, and I'm not the Proxmox expert. And I say that a lot because when people say, I want to help with the migration off Proxmox, I'm having too many problems with it. And I say, okay, I don't spend a lot of time digging into their problems. I'm solving their problem of, hey, we want to migrate to XCPNG. So having done those migrations from people who complain about it, who had paid support contracts, I feel there's some scalability problems, but I don't know because I didn't spend a lot of time troubleshooting their Proxmox. So I don't run into it. I mean, have you? Oh, you probably seen a couple consulting jobs you did with Proxmox. Did you, Steve, or not that often?
No, not. It's usually the same thing. Like, and we tell a lot of the people we don't touch it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't. It's not so much I don't want to learn it. It's one of those things. It's mostly the home people using it.
It's always, it's
Yeah.
not the businesses. And by contrast, one of the clients that we helped had, like, it should, to give you a little bit of an idea of the scale of their network, 25 servers, each having 256 gigs of RAM in them. I believe they're all Epic servers. This isn't the food company. This is another one I've been consulting with. I think Eric's done some work with them too. But the food company alone, they've got over $100,000 worth of equipment running XCPNG. So we have some clients that have some serious hardware because the food company has 100 gig connections. And I remember when we first did a migration, it happened so fast. We thought it didn't happen until we looked up and go, oh, it's on the other server already.
Yeah.
That's neat. Proxmox equals home labs, small home office, then equals enterprise. Proxmox integrates things like Ceph and other stuff to make things install easier. I mean, they get a lot of cool features in Proxmox, and I don't think there's anything wrong with running, especially for a home lab. They support LXC containers really well. If you have an LXC container need, which home users do because they want to cram more things onto the server, and I think that's a solid use case for it. But if you want all the other things, the enterprise and companies running data centers with it, especially with the XO and the proxy XO for controlling multiple data centers from one central location, there's just a lot of scalability features you have in here that I don't think exist in the same capacity with Proxmox. I forget. Oh, it's is it in here? Nah. You have to go in the website, and we'll pull it up real quick. They have a list of all the storage they support. But in that list here is, I've never heard of MooseFS, but they support it. But the one that most people ask about, they got Gluster and Ceph. So you can support Gluster and Ceph inside there. So you do have support for those if you need to. Veronica, how's it going? Proxmox is one of my favorites. things you use for LXC is part of the spec. Beyond that, I go with KVM or other tools. Yeah, I mean, the LXC containers, that's what Jay runs, and I think they're great. I think that's a great feature. I don't know if they're going to get there anytime soon because I don't think there's enough enterprise market demand for them because they are integrating an XCP-ng, like they got Kubernetes and Terraform support, and that keeps getting more and more advanced. So, and they're updating their APIs. So the whole, building infrastructure as code and integrating into your hypervisor is something they're really big on with XCP-ng. They're putting a lot of effort on that and less on some of the container stuff. Oh, we also have some Veronica Explain fans here. So big fan, love what you do. Fancy seeing you on afternoon stream. Veronica is also our resident Cobol programmer. If you need some Cobol work, Veronica knows Cobol. Which is wild. There's very few Cobol people. There's a very few Cobol people, and there's especially very few of them that are young. That's a whole nother thing. Is there any way to clear reset smart failed messages in TrueNAS? Had a bad cable, now it shows me exclamation. Yes, there is. I forget where it's at. There is a way to clear all the settings in TrueNAS on a disk. If you Google it, you'll find it. There's a forum. There's a bunch of forum posts about it. Taking apart a Macintosh SE right now, almost as old as Cobol. That is old. One of my favorite features of Proxmox is the ability to just go pull a cord or cable whenever I have all my VMs up and running on other nodes. Automatically does XCP-ng. Yeah, you can do HA.
Yeah.
So if you lose one of the nodes, all the stuff will start on the other node. If you have HA enabled, it's not enabled by default. So, do you use OTP for XO? Yes. Could take down our whole money system with that skill set. all of our banks probably run on Cobol, or at least too many of them. That's probably true. That means Cobol programmers could be a bigger threat to our infrastructure than anything else.
You'd probably take down the automotive industry if you understand an AS400.
That too. That too. What else was there in here? Oh, keep config backups, the accidentally stuff XO, SSH into XO console. You can turn on the VMs from there. Yeah, that's something that's actually relatively easy to do is go into the console to restart VMs.
Yeah.
If you goof them up, that happens. People do that. Oh, let's see. Ooh, some future foreshadowing video on an AS400 in a basement. I am not versed well. I did RS6000 and HPUX and some of those when I started in the 90s into the early 2000s, but I never worked anywhere that had an AS400 that I had to work on. We had a client that had one, but it wasn't really our project other than make sure it has power and a network cable. The so-and-so company will support it from there. Ooh, do a Cobol search on ChatGPT. Does ChatGPT do Cobol? That's a question. What VMs do I encrypt? All the ones that need to be encrypted. I have an old desktop with a 4-port NIC. I need to play around with setting WAN addresses on the interfaces. Yes.
Yeah.
Cobol's about to get interesting. GC is working on some new compilation fanciness. Nice. The one thing about ChatGPT is everyone asks about the hacking and everything else. It's a very generalist thing. There was a recent write-up by one of the security researchers about how it fails to explain and understand advanced code, especially malware. It can do the basics, but the moment it gets into the advanced side of the world, it just falls flat. It's just not there yet. Actually, Steve, did you see what it did? Did I share with you? that
Probably
Reddit
not.
post about the hangman thing?
No.
So it invented a word.
Okay.
Someone said, "Hey, let's play a game, Hangman," and they went through all the guesses and lost. And they said, "What was the word?" And it displayed the word, and it says, "Can you define that word?" And it answered, "No, I made the word up to make the game hard." And I was like, "This is great! It just cheats at games."
Okay.
There's a video on YouTube of it playing chess, and it just invented new moves. That's how it decided to win. It just started violating all the rules because it wanted to win. It's like, what rules? It's it's just whatever. Hey, curious, you ever cover teleporting channel? Do you think it could be a good addition to a home lab? Yes. I don't know if I'll do a video on it. Christian Lempa from That Digital Life has done a lot of great videos on it. I can't top his videos because he uses it more than me, and I don't actually use it. So maybe someday in the future, but not anytime soon. In the meantime, watch his videos on it because they're very good and accurate. Have you used any of the programs that snap programs to your monitor?
Yes. I just pulled it up. I was
What do
like,
you
who
use
wrote that?
Steven. It's a familiar name.
Yeah. Boom, done. Windows has a tool for it. Microsoft has its Power Toys Fancy Zone utility. You
Oh,
can create,
Fancy Zone.
yeah, you can create zones on your monitor to snap things to.
We should just pull it up. There we go. So Fancy Zone. This one you're using?
I'm not using it.
Oh, okay. I think Miles uses it.
Yeah. It does break. It does break Zoom calls. There's some audio component of it that'll just crash. Like I think it was Zoom calls or something that you have to like uninstall, but I don't remember what they did. All I remember is I was the only one who could have a functioning Zoom call for a little while.
Yeah. I use Linux. That's how I manage all my applications and where they are. So Steve still runs Windows.
Yeah, but I'm running two monitors. I just snap things to there, and then I barrier to my laptop to the TV mounted above my monitors.
Oh, you got all that working?
Yeah.
Yeah. Veronica Explained has a great video on Barrier. That's actually I think that's the video I found the best at teaching me how to use it, but Barrier's great. It'll allow you to have one keyboard mouse and then multiple computers. So you have your main computer be your Barrier server, if you will, and then you use it. Then you can use Barrier for getting control everywhere else.
Mm-hmm.
It's just so slick. It's cross-platform too. It's how I'm actually controlling some of my studio stuff. So let me throw the open source and free.
It's how I'm playing RuneScape on the TV above my monitors.
Yeah. Self-state RuneScape. Teleport replaces the number one source of data breaches. Replace all the breaches with one breach. Only worry about one single system. That's why we love centralized management. With regard to AI, I've just said JetBrains IDE with GitHub Copilot, Terraform, Ansible. It's kind of scary how much it knows exactly what I'm just going to type. No, and that's who had the write up on this? Let me pull this up because there was an article you can read on this from I think Stephen Wolfram did it. Yeah. So I'll throw this in the link if you want. But this might be worth noting. And the chat that ChatGPT can automatically generate something that reads even superficially like human read text is remarkable and unexpected. But how does it do it? Why does it work? My purpose here is to give you a rough outline of what's going on inside of ChatGPT and then to explore why it is. But it's the best things about AI is its ability to learn, predict, make, understand, do. But it actually is it's so much about predictive language modeling. And matter of fact, most of your programming, because there's a lot of sequential things that have to happen in a certain order. And he kind of breaks down all the different predictiveness. So it's kind of neat. So the probabilities, how it does the coding, how it does things, it's very iterative and very predictive, but it gives us a sense. And reality is most people are predictive. The way we word our sentences, the way we do things, you can predict a lot of behavior about people. And so I don't know, it doesn't mean necessarily it's sentient, but it is interesting of how we'll perceive those things much the same way. There's the philosophy for if someone wants some philosophy about ChatGPT. Knew what they were doing in a query. Yeah. Oh, and thanks for Barry. A lot of fun. I use all the time managing my live stream workflow. Yeah, it's kind of cool just be able to go there because, well, I do my live stream from this computer here, but if I do it from the studio computer, that way I can be on my main computer and then share it back over the other way. Even with the G8, our stuff is getting very long in the tooth.
Yeah, they're talking about some old servers.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I want to finish that new server, so I got to play. I want to try editing on it because I do think I need to build a new editing rig,
like
for editing videos, which just means replace my computer.
Okay.
But I did bend these. I just got to get that picture of this server. This is so stupid that the server motherboard has pins facing that side like that. When I do the video on this, that'll be my first complaint about this motherboard. Like, who thought it was a good idea to make the pins face that way instead of out the back? I don't know.
That's the edgy new thing that you get them facing down and wrapped around and hide the wires.
Unless you might want to put this Epic board in a rack case. I mean, who would have thought an Epic board would go in a rack case? Apparently not the people that made it. Steve, yeah, it does kind of make you look like the Dark Overlord there.
Know. I get that one a lot. I should turn the pillow around.
No, if you scoot down just a little, you'll have the devil horns. Look at that. Perfect devil horns. I love it. What are those? Those are like the power button and the reset button and a hard drive LED.
What do they call it? The front panel connector?
Front panel connectors, yes. If you want a guaranteed income in the future, learn Cobol. No Cobol become a programmer for hire for banks, insurance, governments, and all. Yeah. I think our world doesn't end until the year 2038 when we run into the Unix bug. That's when that's when time actually runs out. All of us real tech people, we knew the Y2K bug, no problem. We fear 2038. That's when we know the world ends. I think a lot of Cobol will end by 2038. Not willingly end. I think it'll end and it'll be epic. It'll be a disaster when that happens. I never heard from Eric. I seen he was on here for a minute. I'm assuming he went and did something else.
I don't know. That or he's still working on that thing.
He might be still working on a thing. We have a lot of client calls that go way longer.
That started as 2 hours and turned into a lot more than 2 yesterday. 10-ish?
Yeah.
Yeah. We were bouncing back and forth between our other calls. Oh, he's done with the other thing.
Done with the other thing. Did you want to join us, Eric? Or are you going to go do stuff? We don't have much longer. We're going to be on here. We've already went an hour and a half.
There are 4 sets of 6-pin with black backers to the right. Oh, those ones. Those are some weird 6-pin fan connector.
Oh, yeah. Yep. Those are 6-pin fans.
Yeah.
Do you remember what board this was?
It's in the order history.
Yeah. I'll have to find it.
I really don't remember off the top of my head.
I'll do a video about it because it's also got the SAS expanders on there.
Mm-hmm.
It's a nice board. It's fancy. I think I have another picture of it somewhere. Mm-hmm. Oh, because this picture just popped up. So the dude from Protectli, here we go. Wait, that's not the board. There we go. Protectli reached out to me. I'm waiting.
Oh, Eric doesn't have the join link.
Oh, really? Let me look. So here, I'll send it to him, see if he wants to join us. Send him there. All right. We can have an Eric on here too.
I'm going to make up a number. I'm going to say 400 was what we paid for it. I actually don't remember.
I think you're right. 400 sounds about right.
Say it wasn't too crazy. It was right around there. The processor was expensive. The board was not too bad.
Yeah, that Epic processor was epically expensive.
Because the client wanted like that specific one. We could have got better ones for less, but
yeah,
they had a requirement.
Yep. So that's the thing. Let's see here. Did we get it from Newegg, the board? I'll log into Newegg and get the exact.
Maybe. Part. Let me look.
I think so. I'm logging in.
I might have.
Let's see. Order history.
I didn't order it. Brett did.
Yeah.
I just gave him, here's all the parts and where to get them. And then he did the rest.
Oh, I was wrong. We paid $669. So okay. There's the board. That thing's expensive.
It is.
AS Rack Rome. But it's fancy. Look at that. Pair of NVMEs on board.
8 RAM slots.
Yeah, maybe I'll build when we got to test it before it goes to the client, so I'll load XCP-ng on it.
Yeah, and if you want a new editing machine, I can pick out some, we can get a less ridiculous board like that with a Epic processor.
Yeah, this is the processor we got for it. This is the customer specifically and implicitly, not a variation, but this processor they wanted.
I asked about variations and they were like, well, what's wrong with that one? Is it hard to get? If it takes a few extra weeks to get, we'll wait. And I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
Clearly you want that one.
The devil you know or the devil you don't. Yes. If someone inputs a data set that AI set the goal of understanding really and acting the goal directly away, there's no standard value in effect. I lack context for that statement.
They were talking about the ChatGPT thing earlier.
Oh, okay.
And how, you give it a minus sign and now it thinks it's a negative as opposed to humans can.
We should, maybe I'll bring Jeremy on next week so we can do a schedule of Ask a Microsoft Guy and then we'll title it.
Yeah.
As such. He's our resident Microsoft expert.
That is a 24 core 48 thread.
I was saying about Protectli. Yeah. So let me pull these up real quick. I have, how many of these? I did a video about it, and Protectli reached out to me because they aren't really happy they did a video about it.
I don't see what the big deal is. We've had those things in production for years.
Yeah, and if I remember in the video,
they had an amazing runtime for their life.
Yeah, for their life. Like, and people are looking for something, better.
Like we were putting those in before the 3100 was a thing.
Yeah.
So you have to think, when did Netgate release the 3100? Before that is when we were putting in those J1900 boxes.
Yeah, 2018. That's when we put them in.
Yeah, that's 4 years constantly on. We've had a few 3100s die in that time frame.
I thought I had taken apart picture of one. I know I have them all over. I only have video. I don't have any stills, maybe, but they're actually, I didn't throw them away yet. So
yeah, you have them on your desk.
They're on my desk.
I was playing with it the other day. I'm looking like, when were the first ones we put in?
2017. So, I don't think these were atom bugs though. These
Those
weren't.
were, I think, Celeron J1900s.
Yeah, they're Celeron, so they're not part of the Atom C. Is it C100? C something
Think
atoms.
so.
There was those atoms that had that bug in it where they just work for so long and just die. But
Mhm.
these are Celerons. What we've
Yeah.
seen, some of these also have, like from the factory, loose HDMI, and I don't know, they don't feel as high quality compared to
the new 2.5 gig models definitely feel a little lower quality with that shoddy HDMI. Those ones were pretty solid, but it's kind of a heat death. They run hot. They end up in places where they're they're passively cooled. They're running 70 Celsius for 4 or 5 years. We had one client. The part that burned out was like some module it would check for at boot. So it was literally running broken for a long time until we rebooted it, and it was like, oh, it ain't coming back.
I did link in that video to this particular Quotom one,
Mm-hmm.
and this Quotom one that I have runs a bit cooler.
What one is that?
The one with the 2.5 gigs on it. But I took the one home that's got the loose HDMI.
They all have that.
Oh, they all have it? Okay.
Yeah, I've had an issue with all of them getting that to work.
Mm-hmm.
It's a little nerve-wracking.
Well, this is
yeah,
also...
they run cooler because even though it's a beefier processor, you're not stressing it.
But this is also, I think it's funny. It bounces between 38 and 43. It's not making a temperature swing that fast. I'm sorry.
No, and I remember when I had that J1900, it was 60 Celsius plus at any given time.
Yeah, well, this is one of those things. Like, does it have...
Where did you have it? It's getting to 60 degrees.
On my rack.
Yeah,
Eric, it's a J1900. It's not fast. I was stressing the thing. The VPN probably stressed it.
Don't stress it.
Don't run the 256 encryption on VPN. Got it.
Did that one not have an ANS NI chip?
No, it's a J1900.
That doesn't mean anything. Your rack isn't that nice, apparently.
Whatever. Like, that chip is from Q4 of 2013.
Okay.
It's old.
It is. It is an old chip. We still have a few of them out there. They're still working. Like, the sad thing is the few we've had die off over the last couple years may only be half of the ones we still have out there.
I think they actually started adding AES-NI chips to processors around 2011. So
yeah,
anything after then could.
Yeah, but I think you had to be in the I series for that.
Because remember when pfSense was going to start requiring having AES?
Yeah, and everyone lost
their.
Yeah, no AES new and
like how old is your hardware running this? Like I know pfSense doesn't take much, but I mean, come on, you can upgrade to another.
What was it? They weren't standard until like the 2nd gen I series. So there were people again though. The Celeron was not a 2nd gen I series.
The old chip.
Yeah, because this didn't have support for it.
Yeah. Well, the other thing too is the AES is starting not to make as much sense because Cha-Cha Poly is not accelerated by AES. So, and that's becoming a really popular standard is what WireGuard uses. So now you have that extra factor in there going, hey, look how fast this is. Oh, by the way, Cha-Cha Poly is not based on the same ciphers that are built into the chips. So we're back to using different cipher. And I don't know. I've done some testing and that's what maybe I'll do that tomorrow. How you feeling, Steve and Eric, about we update our VPN at the office to the new Cha-Cha Poly? Because it's all available now. So
I'm ready to Cha-Cha.
We ready to Cha-Cha. Now, if we're feeling really froggy, we can do the data channel offloading, which is experimental, but you know, it's our office, so we can do it.
I just
So
had to turn it on for a site-to-site VPN.
I was
because
going to say, I just turned it on for them too in production.
you
Why
had
not?
it on, then I had it off to troubleshoot. Then it was partially working. Then I turned it back on. Then it started fully working.
It was working fine.
Well, no, you had the cert problem.
That has nothing to do with data channel offloading.
No, but I didn't know if that was the issue, so I turned it off.
Fair enough.
So I
actually,
realized, oh, Eric forgot to make the certs correctly.
two things though. Does Intel Quick Assist accelerate cha-cha polytoning?
No.
Okay.
I don't think QAT does either. Well,
But
there's a
according
forum
to
about that.
According to Netgate, though, QAT is the way to go over ASNI for performance.
Yeah, and the problem is the data channel offload. One of the things that's kind of annoying about it right now, this is why it's listed experimental. They haven't solved this. When you use DCO, one, it's faster. Definitely can confirm that. But one thing you lose, if you go look at the counters and for each user, it doesn't know how much traffic each user passed. It doesn't do anything on there for it. It just shows, it'll show the handshake they did, and that's it. It doesn't show any of the data actually passing through because it's being offloaded to another channel, and they haven't built the tooling to monitor that channel.
Interesting. Okay.
Just something of note. So if you notice someone doesn't look like there's any traffic passing when you look at their OpenVPN status, that's why.
Okay. Yeah, I wouldn't have realized that.
It just shows the handshake, like so many kilobytes, and that's it.
You know, that's funny too, because I probably have never noticed that because most of the time I'm setting up a VPN and there's no traffic going to go over it just yet. So I'm like, okay, cool. It passed a couple kilobits of traffic. It's working. And then I move on. I never look at that again.
I'm reading this here. I don't know if it's written. So there's a way to get this to work. There's some white papers on it, but I don't know that the cha-cha poly is accelerated by the QAT yet.
Yeah, I guess that would be up to Intel to make that happen, huh?
Yeah. The Gen 3 Intel QAT adds some new algorithms as well as cha-cha poly authenticated ciphers. But Gen 3 QAT, what gen does most of them have?
That's a good question. So it is supported on whatever newer devices, but
yeah, how old is this document? When is this from? This is a presentation about it. Should have somewhere in here a date. I don't know. I'm Google searching this stuff.
Where'd you get it from?
Google.
I was gonna say if you could link it to me, but it looks like you downloaded it. So
yeah, hold on. We'll find this. Unless someone in there. Tell quick. Oh, actually, it's able to find these, but does it have a version number on it? Like they sell the cards for it, but what's the version on them? Success stories. Yeah, but what version? I don't know. Someone else can find this.
and I'm not sure that you really get that much crazy performance unless you're running like a whole like VPN server like NordVPN or something would.
Well, and you still have to have internet speeds fast enough to support it in the first place.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't care if your router can handle the encryption and route at, gigabit speeds over the VPN when you got a 20 meg up.
Yeah, that's a lot of times it's more oh, here we go. This might have the versions.
Yes. Statistically, yes. I didn't know that's what we were looking for.
But does it say what QAT version it is? There's a lot of data here.
Hold on.
It's looking
statistically there.
Statistically likely to be in this pile of data we have here.
Well, it's probably per generation, so you're not going to see it in the sheet portion, it's going to be under where it says like Skylake D. It'll be listed there.
Well, it's actually weird. It says, oh, those are just playing this preview because it's not. It lands on the Skylake processors that have it. I don't know. But the the people they get hung up on this a lot, but their connection speed is more the problem than anything else. Even when we had someone who's, oh, do we need to buy a faster firewall? We have all these users working remotely. What size internet connection do you have? I don't think you've maxed out your firewall. Oh, you don't realize you need to buy more, a bigger pipe because all your users, you don't want split tunnel. I think you know who guys I'm talking about.
Yeah.
You mean I can't do gigabit over 20 meg? That's crazy.
I can't. Yeah.
No. It's the people who couldn't split tunnel because they locked everything down to their IP instead of using other forms of security.
Their version of security was everything has to come from one IP address. That was how they did security for their enterprise application at this huge company. Oh my gosh.
And then that time somebody sat in their parking lot
Okay.
and came from their IP.
Yeah, that happened. Oh man.
Don't put production on Wi-Fi.
Well, and this was a big oversight that they had. They just, once you learned their security was all based on IP addresses and they had a guest network, even the guest network was actually able to, because it came out of the same public IP, get into their AWS. You're like, this is not set up right. Investigations are fun.
Yeah.
I still haven't done the video yet on Huntress versus Sentinel-1. That one's coming. You read that whole, I think you read some of it, didn't you? With the thing that Huntress found on a Sunday that Sentinel-1 didn't?
Yeah. Did, and their response was that it wasn't a high enough threat level, but it was still a threat. So why did you let it through? Oh, it's just questionable. Like, okay, so you let a questionable guy into this secure environment, huh?
Veronica has seen Telnet in production in the last year. I am
absolutely
no way shocked.
I went to a client's and they talked about, we have a VPN that we use to log into our server. Explain to me that process of connecting. Well, we just click a link on our desktops and it gets us connected. Brett, go to this IP address in RDP. It came up with a login. They don't have a VPN. They just have RDP open to the world.
I'm curious.
All the time.
I'm curious because I have a client that we evaluated. They never signed with us, but they were still running Squirrel Mail, and it was a extremely old version. Everything was like the old. It was probably not been updated in like 8 or 9 years, and the only reason I think it hadn't been hacked is because you had to go to their domain /squirrel. And I think squirrel's hard to spell. So
oh my God.
Like that's the only reason you aren't hacked is because not everybody knows how to spell squirrel. Like that's my thoughts.
It's not hard for a bot to spell it.
Because they hosted their website internally on some old Linux server. But then if you went to their website /squirrel, so it wasn't a subdomain, that's how you got to the squirrel webmail interface that they were still using. I think this is 2021 when we talked to them, but I have a feeling whoever took them over in IT, they didn't want to spend $1. They're like, it works. What do you mean we have to replace it? Dude, Squirrel Mail is old. Your PHP server is old. Your Linux server is unbelievably old. Nothing has ever been updated in a long time.
God.
I miss Squirrel Mail though. I used to be when I was a mail server admin, Squirrel Mail was one of my favorites. So let me pull it up. I think it still exists.
No way.
It was the first webmail app. Holy crap. They're still doing updates for it.
Oh.
They announced compatibility in October of 2021. There's an update on it. I like that the website looks like it did back when I used it. So
still 2021 is, I mean, that's.
But look at their announcement dates. 2021, previous announcement. 2013, 2012. Go backwards a little further. 2011, 2010. And I used it. Oh, actually, Squirrel Man once again with a big screen making 2 cameos in the social network. That's funny. I did not know it made a cameo then.
Oh wow.
But Squirrel Mail, I used to use it. I love their little slogan up here. If you can read it, webmail for nuts. It was just, I wonder if I still have the custom graphics I did. I had custom company graphics with squirrels on it that I drew. And
is that what your home server was?
My home server had it, but I used to run it when I worked in corporate. Literally over 20 years ago. I set it up in 1999 or 2000, one of those years. I set up a webmail server.
Oh my god.
We still get people asking us, hey, I want to set up a webmail server at my house. No, you don't. You're going to be on a blacklist in 5 minutes.
And I want to set up a Squirrel Mesh server. I know. I thought about maybe taking the time because I used to use Smoothwall, and I have the ISO downloaded of the really old version of Smoothwall, and I thought about trying it, and maybe I'll do like a, I'll spoil my April Fool's joke. I'll do a Smoothwall review, the version that was from 2001. I just got to find, it won't run on some of the newer hardware. It keeps locking up. Lilo won't work on the hardware. I'm sure there's some way I can make it work, but I'm just going to find some old machine. I'm sure there's something laying around. I'm going to load Smoothwall on it, and I'll do a review of a firewall that's over 20 years old.
20 years overdue for the review.
Yeah. I never did a review back then, so what does it look like when you use it?
Exactly.
You remember Endian firewalls?
Oh yeah, I actually did some presentations on them.
Yeah. Those were forever ago.
Yeah, we had them running on like old Pizza Box P3s.
Yep. Pizza Box. Oh, yeah, those Pizza Box P3 servers we had, those green ones. I like those old green servers. Ooh, what about an Unreal server? Yeah, yeah.
No.
SonicWall. I've never liked PunchPaul. So SonicWall is just terrible. So
still love reminiscing about the node-based days.
Oh, yeah.
Hey, your printer got an IP. That's a node.
Yeah, when all their licensing was per IP address on your network. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Lilo is something I haven't heard in ages. Yes, I know. And it gets stuck. I think it only gets to LI. And I would have to, I used to tell you where it got stuck. And this is before Eric's time of playing with Linux. Lilo was before Grub, and LILO, it would lock up on one of the letters as it went across, and which letter it stopped on would help tell you why it didn't boot.
Oh my god. Okay.
Well, your friend is wrong.
So wait, what did it stand for then? Hold on a second. I got to do some Googling now.
Oh yeah, the Lilo boot manager. Lilo bootloader. It's now a Wikipedia entry.
Linux loader.
Yeah, Linux loader.
Bill got it. I can't.
But you said it would stop on a certain letter. I thought those letters would have meant something in an acronym.
No.
Yeah, they mean Linux loader, not necessarily what it failed on, Eric.
Yeah.
I thought that's what you guys were saying. I was like, oh, that's interesting.
If it locked up on like LI, it would mean something else. So
you know how I know, like, when we see the blue screen and I know it's, your drive is set to ACHI instead of IDE. It was the timing at failure, basically.
Yeah. So L is the first stage bootloader. It's been loaded and started, but it can't load the second stage bootloader. 2-digit error code indicates the type of problem. LI, first stage loader was able to load second stage bootloader, but has failed to execute it. LIL, the second stage bootloader has been started, but can't load the descriptor table from the map file. And LIL question mark. This is kind of cool. I liked this was how you troubleshoot it. Yeah. You just had LIL, question mark, LL dash, and if it said Lilo, and then the thing would boot the rest of the way.
If I don't want to see that dash, not rewriting that.
The descriptor table is corrupt, caused by a geometry mismatch. Yeah. We're going back to the 90s, folks. I still have I like this one because I feel this company was thinking ahead. I have a Connor drive, but it's not the Connor drive that's cool. It's what it says. It's a, they were thinking about the cloud back when they made this in the 80s, early 90s. It says Cumulus on it.
Holy crap.
I think I got rid of most of my old. I kept my old server for nostalgia reasons for a long time. And then finally, when I was cleaning, I was like, okay, this has to go.
I like these old ones. I like the rubber dampers on it that keep it. I mean, it's heavy. It's solid. It's got the little rubber dampers on it. I mean, there's something fun about the old hardware. I don't keep much of it. I just think this is cool. It sits on the shelf behind me. I like the kind of ominous black box look it has. I've never opened it up. I don't remember where this one came from or where I took it out of.
I found it in something.
Yeah. But I like that it says Cumulus.
I think it came. My mom's friend has a son who he's closer to your age, so he's been in tech a while, and he had a lot of just really old parts that got boxed and thrown in their garage. I think that's where that came from.
Well, this also has Cirrus Logic chips on it. So once again, Cirrus clouds, Cumulus drives. This was cloud before cloud. I mean, I wonder what data's on it. I have a couple random drives that I have in a box that I didn't throw out only because one day I'm going to get curious enough to plug them in. They're IDE, and we still have at our office. I may even have one here floating around, those IDE adapters, the USB to IDE. So I have a way to read it. You have one too, Steve?
I think I put it away. It was on the floor here until recently because I was going through all my old drives.
Oh, I'm pretty sure we do have an adapter for that because I've had it before.
Because I have one here. We had one at the office. We had two at the office because I would sell one occasionally.
Yeah, those are cool, and I kind of like. It's one of the reasons, and like what Veronica explains, covering some of the older hardware and things like that. I really like that's kind of like a guilty pleasure is watching some of those retro hardware channels. They're just kind of fun when people tear down some of the old stuff to see, all the different things that were from there, like the some of the older especially when they play the older games. Oh, that's just kind of neat.
Oh yeah.
On the original hardware.
You can't easily emulate some of those sounds. It's so worth doing the legacy hardware for that.
Yeah. They were just really cool. Yeah, LGR. That YouTube channel.
I definitely follow LGR.
I think there's a lot. It's a big crossover in the tech community. Like that always.
I wonder what old stuff I have.
Yeah. Just got a box of old stuff somewhere, Steve.
Give me a minute. I know where it is if I have it.
Checking out that Mellanox switch that was posted there. That looks kind of cool.
Oh, I forgot all about to review that other switch. I still know who it's targeted at. That when we got the SFP half rack switch.
Oh yeah, because they were trying to have redundancy in those or something like that. You said. Yeah,
I don't get it. If I pull a picture of it.
I mean, if you're talking redundancy, you're talking at least trying to be enterprise, but it doesn't feel enterprise. I mean, it seems okay, but
the problem is the stupid price on it. And by the way, what do you have? Hold on.
An old slot processor.
Oh yeah. Those are fun.
Like over PCI?
ASMR hard drive sounds. I miss the sound of drives from the 90s.
Yes. Something beeping in the live stream. I didn't hear any beeping. Just got a super MIDI pack. Let's play some SNES musical instruments. Woo! Slot A Athlons. Is that yeah? You remember Athlon had those too? Yeah, it was an Intel one you're holding though, right?
No, that's the Athlon.
Oh, was it an Athlon?
I have an Intel one too, though.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Intel P2s were. I don't know. I don't think the P3s were. The P2s were slot though. I had a P2 slot server board years ago.
But this thing, I still, I I've been waiting to see if it comes in stock somewhere before I did the review, because I hate doing reviews of something that is this unobtainable. Like, you can't find this. Why'd you review it, Tom? You can't find it anywhere. If you can't find anyone who has it, still, let's see, is it even available on Amazon? The price is higher now. Wait, no, this is a different model, which also doesn't make any sense. I'll share what I see here. I searched for that model. I found a different one, but this is the price I'm finding here. This is their 12 port 10 gig SFP plus. I don't get this price. There's nothing about it that means it should be that expensive. That's why I haven't reviewed it. I'm like, I can't find it on Amazon. I only found it at like some random places. This place has it, and I think Streakwave has it. Let me look to see if Streakwave. Yeah, they have it. And Streakwave, they want even more for it. So they've actually changed the price on Streakwave since I last looked. They've now raised it from $699, MSRP of $699, but we're giving you the low deal of $200 over MSRP. Like,
yeah.
And read about it.
That's supply and command. It's
a 10 gig switch, full featured, layer 2, no layer 3 features. That's it. Why is it so expensive? I can't find a single redeeming quality of it to make me like, it's a challenge to review it because of that. Yeah, MikroTik, UniFi has cheaper versions. Like, there's cheap UniFi switches that have 10 gig that are half the price. Well, they were half the price when I first looked. They're even less than half now because they raised the price. So I got nothing on the review. Is going slow on it because it's like, yeah, it's Eric.
Oh, good. Oh, I was wondering maybe it was picking up my furnace in the background.
Well,
and Eric just
Eric's
he's
the
like,
beeper.
no, it's me. I'm out.
Yeah, well, they sent it. Sometimes management makes bad practices. They sent to me a review, and I'm like, I don't like not reviewing things if someone sends it to me. But at some point, I'm like, I don't know what to say about it. It's a really expensive layer 2 switch, guys. I don't know who this is for. Maybe that's how that video starts out. Maybe that's a 1 minute video.
Compare it to the UniFi.
What's that?
Compare it to the UniFi.
Yeah.
You know, it's one of those things. I get it, but it's also like I remember the guy when we went to buy a fridge getting really mad because he was trying to sell my mom the more expensive fridge. And he's like, well, this one does all this and this and this, and it's $1,000. I'm like, that one over there is $600, keeps your food cold.
Yeah.
That's really just it sometimes.
I think it's pizza time for Marcus. You know, he wants me to order him food. Surprised he hasn't come down here and bug me about that. So I think we're going to wind it down. We've lost an Eric. We've been doing this for 2 hours. 2 hours is I think what I've been trying to go on these for.
I have nothing better to do, so.
That's how I feel. That's why I'm sitting here. I would keep sitting here, but my son wants me to go get him a pizza. He told me he wanted a pizza after the live stream, so I eventually got to do it, because if not, I'll be too tired to do it later if I keep going. And I kind of want a piece of pizza now rather than later.
Now I'm getting more hungry.
I know. Pizza sounds good, because pizza is good. Actually, Buddy's Pizza, last time we went there, the last 2 times, hasn't been as good. So we're going to be trying.
I never cared for them.
I like them. I don't know. But Frank's does Detroit style pizza, Frank's and Wyandotte. Okay. I haven't tried them before. I heard they're good. And then there's Mod Pizza's awesome. I love Mod Pizza. So
I have wanted for the last few weeks, I want a Pizza Hut stuffed crust pizza for some reason. Don't know. I think because I haven't had one in years, and I'm like, I want that again.
What flavor? What are you ordering in your pizza there? We're on the pizza part of the discussion before we end this.
Depends where I'm at. So when I used to go to the little place in Lincoln Park where I grew up, they had some deal that was 2 mediums for like $7. I would get one with pepperoni, one with ham, and then just put them on top of each other.
Mm-hmm. What are you getting from Jets there, Eric?
might be a pineapple and ham.
Pineapple. We had a
But
pineapple.
definitely deep dish. I will say Jets does a really good pineapple pizza.
They do a really good deep dish pizza.
Absolutely.
You doing that 8-corner? Got to do the 8-corner from Jets.
I usually just get a large deep dish and call it a day.
That does.
There's nothing wrong with
the
pineapple
8-corner
pizza.
is a deep dish.
Eric's a brave. He's going to face the wrath of the internet for liking the pineapple pizza.
Hey, you put
Am I
whatever
still
on
a
a
beep boop
pizza
robot?
makes you happy, but don't bring it around me.
Yeah, fair.
I'm over here just strictly meats like pepperoni. You know, I do love because I love that you can just kind of get creative with the stuff from Domino's now. I will do one with I forget what they call the white sauce, but I get like the white sauce, cheese, the steak, and pepperoncini, and it's like a Philly cheesesteak pizza.
All right, hopefully this pizza talk has everybody hungry, because now I'm definitely wanting some pizza. Oh, and Veronica got 18 inches of snow last night, so she's probably not ordering pizza. Yeah, we have an ice storm here, so we have that.
It's all melted. My neighbor's tree.
Now we have a flood.
So my car was iced over this morning. I came up when I had to take my mom to the eye doctor, and car was completely thawed. And I went out, and it almost looked like it was raining because all the ice and water coming off the trees as it melted.
Yeah, it looked cool because everything was I went for a walk this morning, so everything was frozen. So
and now nothing's frozen.
Nope. Now it's just everything's flooded. Now we went from frozen to flood. It is so wet here in Michigan right now. But it looks so cool this morning. Oh, man. All right. Well, I'm going to wind it down. We took pretty pictures of snow this morning. So good luck with all that snow, Veronica. That does not sound like fun at all. Your car was frozen. Yeah. All right. Well, thanks everyone for joining. We'll be doing this next week. If I have some spare time, maybe I'll do a Saturday or Sunday stream as well. Because it's still, wintry here. So that means there's not much else to do besides sit on the YouTube and talk to people. Maybe we'll set something up to play with or something like that. But thanks everyone. And thanks Eric and Steve. And I'll chat with you guys later.
Bye everyone.
Later, guys.